In this video, I'm going to talk about how to organise and upload your book using free software, including the cover design to Amazon KDP. As everything is free, you get pure profit, which I am sure is a subject matter of considerable interest to some of you. I must tell you that I'm not a writer, I'm an electronics engineer who one day decided to write a novel, and I jumped right into the deep end. This video is concentrating on a paperback, but I do intend to make my book available as an ebook, so I may do a follow-up video once I've worked out how to do an ebook version. I have played with Amazon's free Kindle Create software and I'm not impressed, so for a paperback I'm not using that, which made things much easier for me. I'm going to tell you all the things I wish I knew months ago that I had to learn while I was writing my novel, but I don't know everything. But I can give you the basics for a text-heavy novel. I'll tell you how to format your story using LibreOffice, which is free. This is a simple tutorial, so there are other things to learn, such as using templates, but it'll be sufficient to set you off. Then I shall show you a simple way to make a cover using free software. Then I'll discuss how to fill in the website for Amazon. There are free books to download for LibreOffice, or if you really want to, you can buy them. Some people prefer a physical version. Once you've set up your document, you can do what I'm going to do, which is to make a copy of that file and just edit that for future sequels. One more thing before I get started, I have sometimes resorted to plugging in my laptop into a television and changing the zoom level of my document to make it 6 by 9 inches so I can see if I like the margins on that page. I've done the same with the cover to make sure certain text is visible on the back cover. I've literally used a ruler to make sure the page I'm looking at really is 6 by 9 inches. So let's get started by setting up a blank document. Before I get started, I want to show you what LibreOffice does when you open a new document. Now, I'm not getting into templates in this tutorial, it's quite basic. You get lots of paragraph styles, which are styles you can attach to text to make it look like different things, such as fonts, alignment, and so forth. I'm going to create my own. They start with book and front matter. If I go on default paragraph style, right click that, go to edit style. I want at the very least 12 points because I'm making a 6 by 9 inch book. I choose what font I want and I generally just leave it like that. Language as well, UK. So I'm going to create my own styles. So I'll be making a few of those, and how I do that is I would right click, go into new, and if I wish I can inherit from the default. That will take the information that I already put in there and I'll give it a name. I can give it any name I want, like book matter first paragraph. Next style. That can either be itself, so if I press enter nothing changes, or if I press enter it can go into a different style. So this is where I've put in my own ones here, like front matter, author name, book title, the subtitle for that, dedication. And I've also set my own here, copyright page, first paragraph, letters, most paragraphs, scene break. I'll explain these as I go on. So now I'm going to go on to the next section of the video. So the first thing we're going to do on LibreOffice is set up the size of the paper. So if I put my mouse over here, you can see styles and Alt +2. That means if I press Alt and the number 2, that'll come up. I don't actually remember what these icons look like, I just put my mouse over it and wait for the tooltip to come up. I know the one at the far left here says paragraph styles, and I know the fourth one along is page styles, as it says on the tooltip. So if I click that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use two page styles, one so I can set off page one at a different place. I don't want page one literally at the first page. If you're making an ebook version, then you don't bother with page numbers anyway. But this one's for the paperback, and I do. What I'm going to do is going to go into default page style, right click it, go to edit style. Now I go over to page. So this is in centimeters, but I can put 6 and a quotation mark. If I press enter, this will disappear, but if I press tab or just click somewhere else, it converts that for me. 6 by 9 inches. This is mirrored because it is a book. So the margins, inner, outer, bottom and top. At the moment I'm using these, I may change them. And the gutter refers to the inner margin as well. So you don't want the text to be too close to the middle, otherwise the reader has to really open up the book quite a bit to read the text. And the outer one, I use 1.5 centimeters. I've seen some books use 2 centimeters, so you've got enough gap for your thumbs. Now the footer that's unchecked. So this is going to be from a front matter. Now I right click and press new. I've already set up something which I've decided to call page numbers, so I'm just going to go to edit style here just to show you. So general, I put the name there, page numbers. On page, I set these up exactly the same. 6 by 9. All of these are exactly the same, mirrored. Footer is on. Down here, I often alternate between book view and single page view. So if I zoom right out, I'm going to put a few page breaks in. So I could go to insert, page break, and you see you can press Control Enter if I want to, which I'm going to do. So if I do that a few times, I have 3 pages, like a book. Or I could view it like that if I wanted to. Now, I'm going to start a manual break. So I go into more breaks and I put manual break. Now my page style, I'm going to set it to page numbers. I click this, change page number 1. So if I press OK, I've got 1 there. And now if I didn't have that, so this is showing page numbers because this particular page is using the page numbers style. If I didn't have that, I can click in there, I can left click this, go insert page number, and if I get a number that's not in the middle, I can press central alignment there, or I could even go to insert page number, that's center. I normally leave that like that. So there's multiple ways of doing it. Now you notice this says blank page. That's actually irrelevant. That won't print out. So you don't need to worry about that. But you can get rid of it by clicking on the page above. So you can see that's where that is. And I can just insert another page break and it disappears. Which I normally do because I find it a bit of a distraction. The text here will have page 1. So if I press Control and Enter, which is, just to remind you, is a normal page break. 1, 2, 3. That should be page 3. So zoom in. There we go, 3, 2 and 3. And I can keep doing that and it'll do that automatically from now on. Let's go back up to this page. Now I want this to be my title page. I want paragraph styles. I've got to type in text and associate it with a style. So this means when I change the style itself, all the text that are using it will also change. Personally, I've been right-clicking, going to new and setting up things called front matter. And I've got one starting with book. But that's up to me. The rest are just given anyway. So let's set up a title. I've called this one book title. I can double click any of these and it'll change to that particular paragraph style. I can do it here as well if I really wanted to. Book title. So if I right click here and edit style, you can see that I've got the name of this here. Next style. So next style is when I press enter, it will go to this one. That's quite convenient. I can do a chapter title, press enter, and it'll go to another style for the first paragraph. Then I can press enter and it'll go to a different style. So I'll cover those in a moment. Alignment. Got center there, but spacing above paragraph, I've decided to put 3 centimeters. So that's why I have a bit of a gap. So when I type, it associates what I'm typing with this. My book title. If I press enter, I've set it to go to subtitle. So if I just show you that, right click, I've just gone for 1 centimeter spacing there. That's that option. And I can do exactly the same. When I press enter, it'll go to this one, and I can set whatever font I want, size, language as well. Just to confirm, I can just look at that at any time or here, and I can see, right, I'm on the subtitle. A steampunk adventure. I press enter and it's automatically changed to that. If not, I'll just simply double click that. So author name, my pen name. I'll just show you that. Right click, edit style, indents. I'm using 3 centimeters. You can use whatever you wish. Another thing I want to show you is this icon. If I press this, this shows you a certain symbol to show that that's where I've pressed enter. Sometimes you get problems and you need to delete some of these that's causing problems that are switching on or off certain settings, and certain text can get messed up, and then you just press that and you can see you may have multiple things that are all conflicting. So that's quite useful. Dots there, it's just showing that there are spaces there. So if there was 2 dots, you can see that, I've used 2 spaces there. And you may not have intended for that. That clearly shows there's 2 there, but if I uncheck that, you might not be able to see it very well. So that's another thing I keep using a lot. Here I've filled out my title, I've filled out the subtitle and a name. So if I go down to book view, zoom out a little bit, this is what I've got so far. Got the title there, copyright on that side's dedication. I'm going to put a table of contents there. I don't have to as it's a novel, but to show you how easy it is, I'm going to do that. So I've got my prologue. So I've already got this typed in. So if I click this, this changes to book chapters title and I've put table of contents. And I've also got chapters title there. These two are exactly the same. If I just right click on one of them, go to edit style. So I've chosen bold, decided to go to 13 points. For the book, for the story itself, for a 6x9 inch, I'm going to use a minimum of 12 points. Once I'm happy with the settings there, center alignment there. Now this is for the table of contents. So if I go to this bottom one, outline level, level 1, that's very important. Anything with that on will go into the table of contents. So when I show you the table of contents, if it messes up, it's because of this setting. You've got level 1 set on other things. So you can undo and have a look at what paragraph styles you have to see whether that's been set to none or level 1. And that's the only difference between these two. If we just right click on here, outline level none. So that's, if you click that, that's where that lives at the moment on this version of LibreOffice. Prologue, I'm using this one. If it was anything else, I'd just simply have to double click this one. I want Prologue in table of contents. And so if I click here, book, first paragraph. So if I right click that, I've already created this. So font, regular, 12 points. It's justified. I haven't changed these, I've just left those as they are. So on indents and spacing, this is set to 0. There's no indent on that first paragraph, as you can see. So I type that in. When I press enter, if I just right click again, go to general, it'll go to book. I've just called it book most paragraphs. So if I click this text here, this text is associated with that, which is correct. If I right click on there, indents and spacing, first line on the indent, it's not 0, it's 0.52 centimeters. That's what I've decided to use. Now, all the text that uses that will have that indent. So I could right click that now, and if I wanted to, if I just set 1 and click apply, you can see everything changes, which is quite useful. 0.52. Now I'll have to do it like, there we go, 0.52. What I'm going to do chapter 1 now. So on book view, I want chapter 1 to start on that side. So if I zoom out a bit, that's page 2, that's page 3. Now, make sure this is in chapter's title, table of contents. I've decided to write each chapter separately, then I can send it off to a proofreader. But you could just write things differently if you wish. What I've done here, I've typed everything there, and it's not formatted. It's in a large font, just because my eyes aren't very good and I want to be able to read it more easily. So if I copy that, I can either right click copy, or I could go up here, or press Ctrl C, whatever I need to do. So I've got that in my clipboard. Now I make sure that's on table of contents. What I can do, I can right click, paste special unformatted text. So I could press all of that, Ctrl Alt Shift V if I wanted to. Chapter 1, the beginning. So I right click this, general, next style, book first paragraph. So that's something convenient there. If I press enter, first paragraph. That's what I want. If it doesn't do that and you don't want to set up those things, you can just simply double click whichever one you want to do. There's my first paragraph. If I just zoom out a little bit, so click there, hold down Shift, copy. Now when I paste this unformatted, now you notice that font, so you notice that this is in bold and it's not on here. So unformatted gets rid of that and everything else. It's just plain text, which is what I want. And that's because I don't want to copy text with a bigger font and suddenly it'll be bigger font on here. So I manually select that and make that bold. Press enter, it should go to most paragraphs, which is the one with an indent, and you can see that little indent there. I go up to here, click that, copy, unformatted text. So I'm just going to go up to, I'm not filling any more at the moment. I'll go back up to the copyright. So I click the text here and this is automatically changed over. So if we just right click there, next style is itself. So whenever I press enter, it just doesn't change to anything else, which is what I want. Font, regular, don't need to change any of that. Alignment is center, that's what I want, and copyright is quite, that's looking quite good. Now I'm going to zoom out a bit. Here I want my table of contents. I'm going to zoom right in there. How do I do a table of contents? It's really easy. I go to Insert, Table of Contents, I click this. You can set all sorts of things, but I just want something simple. The only thing I want to change is this. I'm going to make sure that's 1. If I press OK, there we go. Book, chapters, title, table of contents, right click there. Outline and list, level 1. That's what this table of contents uses. So if this is getting other text that you don't want to do, it's because of that setting. I've filled in my document now. That's got prologue, chapter 1, and it goes on. I'm all very happy with that. One thing I really should mention, if I go here, just zoom into table of contents. I've got all of that here, but it's not automatic. I have to right click and click this, update table of contents. So whenever I add another chapter or lengthen one, shorten one, keep clicking that, or just make sure you click that before you save. But what happens if you don't like the font size? All of these book chapter titles, those are ones that I've created by, just to remind you, I right click, I click new, and I'll just do that now. If I click new, I can inherit from a certain one I've already set up, and then call it what I want, and then set all of these things as I do before. But as I say, most of these are already given. For example, contents heading, that's this one. These text here is contents 1, and you can see this is whenever I click this text, that changes over. So if I click contents here, it goes to heading. So if I right click this and go to edit style, I could, if I wanted to, go to font, make it slightly bigger. So I could click that and go to 18. If I wanted that a little bit bigger. And this is the same with all of this text. I would go to either click this, or I could click the text here and it'll change the contents one anyway. So edit style, and I can change the font. Maybe I want it 17, and I might prefer that. And another thing I've forgotten to mention, actually. So what happens if I want a scene break? Well, I've already created that as well. If I go to, there it is, scene break. I've previously gone to new and created this. If I right click here, do exactly the same. So it's center alignment and spacing above and below. I'm trying 0.5 centimetre, and that looks good for me. So if I want a scene break, I can press enter. At the moment it's set to book most paragraph. If I just double click this, you see this has changed. And what I like to do is an asterisk, space, asterisk, space, asterisk. And that looks like a nice little break there. Now I'm going to show you what you do when you're ready to upload the manuscript onto Amazon. Now, at the time of making this video, Amazon doesn't accept LibreOffice files. Now, I haven't used this, but I can go to Save As and save it as a Microsoft Word document. What I personally prefer to do is export it as a PDF. So we go to File, Export as PDF. You could leave that as 90% if you have any images. Perhaps you may wish to just change that to lossless compression. I'll leave that up to you. Generally, I haven't touched any of this when I've uploaded it. So I click on Export and then I save that as a PDF. Now I'm going to load that into a PDF reader. I've loaded my PDF into Adobe Acrobat, and you can see that the bookmarks are all there. Those have all worked quite nicely. So if I clicked on chapter 1, for example, you can see there's no page numbers there, but if I press chapter 1, there's page 3 there, a deliberate blank page 2. My chapter 1 starts on the right hand side. Prologue, chapter 1, even though it's not literally the first page. So if I just go right to the top there, here I've got different views. I've got a 2-page view there. So some of these icons are to click a lot. What I do is if I click this, there's pins there, and that pins it to here, like single page view, 2-page view. So let's have a look at 2-page view. So I can either select it from there, or once I pin it, I can just press that. Here's a problem. This is not how it's normally shown in a book. So this can be quite confusing, but we can easily correct that. If we go on to View, Page Display, so I want 2-page view, but I want Show Cover Page. If I click that, now that's how I want it. So the first page there, like in a book, that would be my title. I've got my copyright, my dedication, deliberate blank page, table of contents, deliberate blank page, prologue, etc. So I can look through that, and if I'm happy with everything, I can upload that to Amazon. Now we're going to look at how to make a cover. My cover is going to be the front cover 6x9. You could use Microsoft Paint if you wish. I don't, because I don't particularly like it, but you've got image properties there where you can put the width and height in there, and the option of saving it as a ping, which is a lossless compression algorithm. It preserves all the detail and makes the files somewhat smaller, but obviously it can't compress as much as a lossy compression algorithm such as JPEG. Another free option is GIMP, where you have all sorts of options such as your layers, all sorts of brushes, and it's a very, very capable piece of software. I just happen to have a commercial piece of software which I used, so it cost me nothing to use it, so I did. But I'm not recommending it, I'm not paid by anyone, it's entirely up to you. So all I did, I took a photo, which you can see this one's not very good, the colours aren't awful, I didn't really like that one. I tried my kitchen table and I changed the white balance, experimented with that. I think it was 20 photos I took, I think. This one I liked the most. So I rotated it. I want 300 dots per inch, so 300 times the 6 and 300 times a 9. So I chose 1800 by 2700 pixels for that image. So you can see that there's a little bit there on that, and the top and bottom I want to cover up. So I put a blank image over the top, cut a hole through, and as you can see, that is a lot better. Now for fonts, you can download fonts, but make sure it's for commercial use. It didn't actually work very well with this particular piece of software, but it's something to experiment with. I used the ones on my computer and also did a quick search on the internet to make sure I can use it for commercial use. So you can have your author name at the top or bottom or however you want to do it. So I simply just did that. I was happy with that. Save as, and I use ping again. Now for this section, I'm going to show you the screenshots that I've taken while I was filling in the website. A lot of it's self-explanatory, so we've got paperback details, language there, English, put your book title in obviously, optional subtitle. We've got an option for series. I put an edition number as 1 because I might do a second one with some edits in. Have lots of options for the author, which can be your pen name or your real name. The description, this will be your product description on Amazon so customers can learn more about your book. I suggest not making it too long. We do have quite a nice amount of formatting options, bold, italic, underline, even bullet points there. Here I clicked that one. I own the copyright, publishing rights. I click no for that option. I chose not to put a minimum and maximum reading age. In my book, I think it's quite uncontroversial. There's no bad language or anything in there, but I chose not to put anything in for those, even though the English is quite an upper class British type of manner of speech. I think if a child did read it, they'd be untroubled, although they'd probably have to look up quite a lot of words in there because it is quite grandiloquent. Anyway, primary marketplace. That's mine, UK. I can choose up to 3 categories. So mine's in science fiction and I chose steampunk, alternate history and adventure. You also have options for notebooks or large print if that's what you're doing. For keywords, which it says are optional, one of the things I made sure is to have the word steampunk and steam and punk, because some people spell steampunk in 2 different words, so I tried to capture everything there. I chose that for my publication date. Release date, that's what I've chosen. You can save as a draft if you want to come back to it. And if we go to save and continue, we have paperback content. I decided to choose a free ISBN. You have the option to have your own print options. Mine's a fiction, and it's said here this is typical for fiction to have black and white interior with cream paper. Now, trim size, this matches my manuscript, so it's a 6x9 inch. I chose no bleed. There's only one photograph in it anyway. I also chose glossy for my front cover. Now, for uploading your manuscript, mine's in PDF. So I can upload it here, and it takes a little while to process. If there are any changes, I can edit my manuscript, save it again as a PDF, and I can re-upload it without re-entering all of those details. You don't have to delete the book and start again. Now the book cover, now this is quite interesting. You can upload a PDF. I chose to click on Launch Cover Creator. So there's a quick tutorial there. I chose the layout I want for the book down here. That's at that stage. So here at Style and Edit, I just simply clicked this, uploaded my 6x9 image file. As you can see, the text is within these red lines. The spine was filled in for me. And for the back, this is what I chose. Typed in some text. You can choose font size. So this particular one, it chooses the font size depending on how much text you write in. So I clicked on preview. You also have guidelines there. You can take that on and off. I looked at that and I thought, yes, I'm quite happy with that. That's a nice design in my opinion. I click save and submit. AI generated content. No, obviously I don't recommend using AI to generate a cover. I shall leave that option to you, but if you do, you have to tell them that it's AI generated, and that might put people off, I imagine. I don't know. But as you can see, it took a very short period of time just to get a picture, manipulate it. It was really easy. I didn't have to pay anybody. And also, if you change the cover or manuscript, you'll have to keep telling it that it's not AI generated, because some people might actually change their mind about things. Anyway, book preview, you click on Launch Previewer, and you can look at these, make sure that everything's in the guidelines, which you can switch on and off there. There's a little issue there on page 5. That was with my table of contents. It didn't seem to matter. I still quite liked it. And I can go through every single page, make sure I like the margins all around the text. And you can go through every single page. And you can either exit the print previewer or approve if you like it all. This last section, paperback rights and pricing, I chose all territories, but you can read these if you want to make other decisions. Primary marketplace is that one. As soon as I type in a price here, everything's filled out. You can also choose expanded distribution if you wish. So you can play with some prices there. The minimum in this particular case is £6.24. Now, here you can click on request proof. You don't have to. I chose to as it's my first time and I wanted to have a look at a physical copy. When I clicked that, I think it was an hour later, I got an email, and then the book was actually in my Amazon basket, and I bought the product like I would buy any other product. and I wait a few days and I can examine that to make sure I am absolutely happy with how it looks. As you can see, I have account information incomplete, which obviously I can't show you, but there are some things I had to do an internet search that I've never heard of, such as certain numbers it wanted for the bank. I got them off my own banking app. Also, it wanted identification. I could have used my passport. I chose my driving license, and I clicked something where it transferred the process to my phone, and I used the camera on my phone. Took a photograph front and back. It was quite easy, and the website seemed to be quite happy with that. And then from my phone it automatically transferred to the website, and then I continued. But you do need to put that in, obviously, because you're selling something. Also, I managed to type in my national insurance number. I was able to use that. So there's quite a bit of information there that you do actually need. So at this point I could just save as draft. For me, I'm personally waiting for my own copy of the book, and then I'm going to click on Publish Your Paperback Book. If you are happy with everything, you can just click on that straight away. My draft copy arrived today. This is what the gloss finish on the cover looks like, which is quite professional, although the lighting doesn't do it justice. The font size at the back is big enough. I have the not for resale message, as it's a copy of the book purely for the purposes of evaluation. For the rest of the day, I shall check the quality of the book, although everything so far is more than satisfactory. I'm happy with the margins here. There is enough room for my thumbs and the text is far enough away from the spine. That's the end of my little tutorial, and I hope it is of use to you. Of course, there is a lot more to learn with regards to using all the options different software has and ways to format your documents. I wish you good fortune with your books and your learning.